Hey everyone, welcome to Ramble with Nix. The lies and corruption coming out of the health department just keeps stacking up. It's starting to look like a Jenga tower. So the health minister, Motsoaledi, made all sorts of assurances not too long ago to us, the people who pay his salary. And he says that a tender to the value of 216 million rand will be taken off the hands of the IDT and be managed by the Development Bank of South Africa instead. These so-called assurances come after Amabhugane and Daily Maverick exposed red flags in the procurement process, which then resulted in a PwC investigation. A horrifying fact to keep in mind is that this project was initially signed in August 2022. Not even a year later, the steering committee for the project was asking that they restart the entire process because of costing issues, etc. If you're into accountability and share my anti-corruption vibes, make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to my channel so that we can get into the scandal that just doesn't seem to want to leave the health department alone. This is the Mzia IDT oxygen tender mess, which some of you might already be aware of. So just a quick summary to get us all onto the same page. Post-COVID, the government wanted to make sure that no hospitals ran out of oxygen ever again. So IDT managed a tender which was called Pressure Swing Absorption Tender to supply oxygen plants to 55 hospitals. Initially, IDT awarded contracts which were split between two bidders. Vulcan awarded a contract for 428 million, and Mzia secured a contract worth 152 million. After the contracts were awarded to the bidders, reporting from Amabhugane and Daily Maverick raised numerous red flags with the IDT's procurement process. And because of that report, it kicked off a PwC investigation. The results from that investigation, honestly, a dumpster fire. The health department really is a Jenga tower. What comes to light from that PwC investigation? Overinflated prices showing that estimates were sitting at around 4.2 million for Greytown's hospital plant. Mzia quoted 17.6 million and finally settled on 12.5 million. Bethesda, also a hospital, estimated 2.8 million. They bid 25 million. Elam, another hospital, Vulcan, underbid at 3 million, but it went to Mzia for 12 million. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever want to see value for money, BEE, procurement at its finest, this year is a great example. So the constant changes and allocation of hospitals between the two bidders, I can barely keep track. Mzia started with 46 sites out of 55, remember that, including 15 they didn't even bid for. But now we're at 56 sites. At some point, they shuffled the selection around. Mzia was responsible for the Chrysia projects now. Then all of a sudden, down to 1, then all of a sudden, back to 10. But no explanation as to why these changes were taking place. And to date, no explanation. The process and professionalism around this tender, which is in the effort to save lives, let's not forget that. The steering committee, as I mentioned, was already screaming in 2023 that this process needed to be restarted. The PwC report also showed that there were missing minutes, fake scores, and secret talks. A modus operandi that is coming to light in the Madlanga trial for sure. So what you need to know is that the mess isn't exclusively the Mzia problem. The other contractor, Vulcan, was a complete mess as well. The Vulcan managed to secure the lion's share of the project, 400 million. The company did not have an online presence, and they had no certification from the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority. And a very elusive director, Nukusanti Ndlovu, more damning evidence that came out, over and above what I've just mentioned, is that they tried to use a health practice certificate belonging to a third party without the third party's knowledge, and that the witness signature was allegedly forged, unfortunately exposing corruption in the health department. Also gets your name written on, because the Balkan director, Mr. Ndlovu, died suspiciously after an interview with, I believe it was with Daily Maverick. And the feedback, the police are on it. Now, all of that drama has been going on since 2022. Only this year, earlier this year, did the health minister finally intervene. I mean, what's that, 3 years later? And then he assures that the entire tender has been removed from the IDT's hands and will be managed by the Development Bank of South Africa to oversee afresh. So not only has this all been going on since 2022, and we've achieved absolutely nothing, we're now going to start the process over again. And I don't know if it's silly of me to even put my hopes in the fact that this entire scandal isn't just going to happen again with a whole bunch of different suppliers. So the current controversy is around the fact that we had heartfelt promises saying that the entire tender is now in the hands of the Development Bank of South Africa. But a revelation published by Amabhugane and Daily Maverick show that despite all those heartfelt public assurances, the 152 million Mazia portion of the contract continues to remain in the hands of the IDT. AKA, the health minister assured us the entire tender would be removed. It seems that everything but Mazia was removed. But essentially Mazia is the problem. So the result, we actually haven't achieved anything since 2022. What seems to be transpiring now is that the Development Bank of South Africa did open up a new tender for a new contractor. But it seems that the Mazia portion of that tender remains in the hands of the IVT, which I would then presume isn't part of the new tender. The criminals continue to mismanage public funds. Meanwhile, Health Minister conned us with some sweet story of accountability. We got so excited that there might be accountability, we forgot to really keep track of the story. Or he actually really doesn't know what's happening in his department, and that alone is a sign that he should not be in a leadership position. And after all of this, since 2022, the minister only stepping in at the beginning of 2025, and now we find out that the issue, that the contract issue, still sits with the original contractor. So our health minister lied, or he is not in control of his department, because this was all signed off by the chief financial officer of the Department of Health. Meanwhile, after all is said and done, not a single oxygen plant to help the sick and dying. Millions lost and absolutely nothing to show for it. And at the end of the day, the contractor still has the contract, but we still don't have the plants. To summarize, you could basically say, this is like the health minister promised to throw out the contents of like a super dirty, suspicious cupboard. Okay. But then behind our backs, he left a very unique, specific and expensive item behind. As part of the distraction technique, he decides, you know what, let's commission a brand new cupboard for everything, he says. But when you open up the old cupboard, there sits something pretty valuable, and nobody's speaking about it. The entire problem has not been solved. The controversial element was simply shifted back to the original management structure instead of being absorbed into a nice new clean cupboard. Guys, the level of corruption in the health department is so deep. For even the best informed of us, I think we don't actually know just how bad this is. And to think that the ANC want to launch NHI with all of these stories coming out, like absolutely no reflection on incompetence and self-development. Think of all the people who have suffered and died, or watched family members suffer or die. Then another rich fat cat elitist is the only one benefiting from BEE, and actually has the sole ability to steal from the sick and dying. To think the Madlanga trials just bringing to light the police corruption. And we all know for sure education department and health department definitely sit on that list. But what's important is that the more we share these stories, the better educated we are, as well as making others, for the time when it comes to making a difference, and that is next year's local elections. We need to make sure that people understand and compute the scale of destruction, who's benefited from it, and essentially, if we had been able to use this money, how many hospitals could we have built? To quantify the level of looting, we would need forests for the amount of paper for that book, and it would have to be a series for sure. It's just, in some ways, somewhat depressing. So on that grand scale note, guys, I hope you enjoyed this time with me. Make sure that you hit that like button. If you enjoyed this and you want to support me, it is completely free for you to press that subscribe button, and it actually does help me financially. So otherwise, I would love to hear from you. Drop me a comment. What do you guys think about this? Do you have another story in mind that you think I should look at? So drop that in the comments as well, or you can send me an email, nixrambles@gmail.com. Listen, if you do want to support me financially, I am most appreciative of any support. Nikki Gibbs, shout out to you, of course. You can all become a member for the price of a small Coke per month, $14.99. You can also drop me a super thanks for any amount. I am most grateful. And then a once-off donation can be done via PayPal. All of those details in the description below. I am grateful for all the support, even if all you did today was watch this video right until the end. Guys, I hope your week is amazing as you are. Over and out.